This video is just going to be a bit of fun. I'm going to talk about what the members of the royal family traditionally wear at a coronation and what some of them might wear this time round. There were rumours circulating for a while that only the King and Queen would wear coronation robes and that other members of the royal family would not be wearing the traditional robes and coronets. But we have now heard that some of the peers, the nobles involved in the ceremony, will be wearing their robes and coronets, so that might open up the possibility of members of the royal family doing the same, though I'm not holding my breath. There are strict but really simple rules about what robes and coronets the wider royal family wear. It depends on three things: what their relationship is to the sovereign, what their position is in the line of succession to the crown, and whether they have a peerage or not. It's simpler for women than for men. Firstly, let's talk about the Prince and Princess of Wales and what they would traditionally wear at a coronation. As the heir apparent to the throne, the Prince of Wales's robes and those of his wife differ from the rest. I think we may well see William and Catherine robed appropriately, even if nobody else does. We have some indication of what they might wear from previous coronations. In 1902, for the coronation of Edward VII, the future George V, who was Prince of Wales and Duke of Cornwall, wore the robe of a Duke of the Blood Royal. A crimson coronation robe with a cape fur of ermine, with 8 rows of ermine tails on it. And on his head he wore a distinctive coronet. The coronet was made for him. The band had alternating crosses and fleur-de-lis, just like St Edward's crown. But rather than 4 half arches, like the crown, it was topped by 2 half arches, and that was topped in turn by a mond and a cross. The future King Edward VIII wore this same coronet at King George V's coronation, and he paired it with the mantle of the Order of the Garter. He was a Knight of the Garter, having been made a knight the previous year. Now, a little bird tells me that William will wear his garter robe at the coronation. Now, when Edward VIII left the country in 1936 at his abdication, he took the coronet with him, but it was returned to the crown at his death in 1972, and I think it is highly likely that Prince William will wear it. He certainly won't wear the coronet that was made for his father in 1969. No gold-plated ping-pong balls at this coronation. All the coronets of the royal family, like those of the nobility, have a rad cap of maintenance within them. Now, Mary of Teck wore a smaller version of her husband's coronet at the coronation in 1902, which is apparently still in the royal collection, but it's not been used since then. I think the Princess of Wales is likely to wear this, along with a tiara. She could couple that with a purple robe of estate, decorated with 3 robes of gold lace on its train and trimmed with ermine and with an ermine cape. The male members of the royal family that are royal dukes, such as the Dukes of Edinburgh, Sussex, Kent and Gloucester, wear the same robe as any other duke of crimson velvet with an ermine cape. The only difference is that they have more rows of ermine tails on the cape, 8 instead of the 5 that is usual for a duke, and a modest train. Here is Prince Henry, Duke of Gloucester, and his wife Alice at the coronation of his brother George VI in 1937. Princes without a royal dukedom will either have a lower peerage or they are generally members of a chivalric order and will wear either the coronation robe of their degree or the mantle of their order. This photo shows the family of the Duke of Connaught, a son of Queen Victoria at George V's coronation in 1912. His son Prince Arthur of Connaught, who's at the back, wears his garter robes, while his son-in-law, the future King Gustav Adolf of Sweden, is wearing the mantle of the Order of the Bath. So Prince Michael of Kent, for example, is a Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, so he could wear the mantle of the order. It's a bit simpler for the women of the royal blood, those who hold the title Her Royal Highness, whether princesses of the blood or spouses of princes, all wear the same robe, a purple robe of estate. Along the length of the train, this is decorated with 3 strips of gold lace, a narrow strip between 2 wider ones. The robe is edged with ermine and it's lined with silk and has an ermine cape. Queen dowagers and queens of foreign estates that are of the British blood royal also wear this form of robe of estate rather than the one they wore at their coronation. I'm not sure if there are regulations for the lengths of train. I haven't seen any. I assume there are. But the trains of the robes of queens do seem to be slightly longer than those worn by princesses and royal duchesses. Here is Queen Mary in her robe of estate in 1937. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, had a similar robe made for her in 1953. The little princesses Elizabeth and Margaret, when they attended the coronation of their parents in 1937, also wore little robes of estate with trains. Again, these were made of purple velvet with 3 strips of gold lace. The fur trimming was plain white minever rather than the ermine of the adults. Now, the coronets worn by the other princes and princes, except the Prince and Princess of Wales, are fairly straightforward, really. There are 4 types. Firstly, there's one for the children of the heir apparent. Then there's a second for younger children of a sovereign. A third for male line grandchildren of the sovereign. And a fourth for the children of the daughters of a sovereign. The 3 children of the Prince of Wales, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, are all entitled to wear a coronet that has a band that's made up of alternating crosses, strawberry leaves and fleur-de-lis. As Prince George will be a page and his siblings are quite young, we are unlikely to see any of these worn, though you never know. We may, however, see the Dukes of Edinburgh, York and Sussex wear the coronets of younger sons of the sovereign. Here is the Duke of Gloucester, the son of King George V, and his wife Princess Marina, at the coronation of his brother George VI in 1937. He is wearing the form of coronet he's entitled to, along with his royal ducal robe. This consists of a band of alternating crosses and fleur-de-lis. Princesses, who are daughters of a sovereign, such as Princess Anne, could also wear a smaller version of this. In fact, in that photograph, Princess Marina is wearing a smaller version of her husband's coronet. I think it's unlikely we will see Princess Anne wear a coronet this time, as she will be in the uniform of gold stick in waiting. Here is Princess Margaret, the late Queen's sister, wearing that coronet in 1953, paired with her purple velvet robe of estate. She and her sister, the future Elizabeth II, wore coronets of this sort made into larger circlets at their father's coronation in 1936. Male line grandchildren of a sovereign who are not children of the heir apparent, such as the Duke of Kent, the Duke of Gloucester, the Earl of Wessex and Prince Archie, are entitled to wear another distinctive type of coronet with alternating crosses and strawberry leaves. Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, Lady Louise Windsor and Princess Lilibet are also entitled to wear a smaller version of this coronet. It is open to question what robe Lady Louise is entitled to wear at the coronation. She is entitled by virtue of letters patent issued by George V in 1957 to use the style Her Royal Highness and be known as Princess Louise, but she has chosen not to do so and instead styles herself as the daughter of a non-royal duke. She may well still wear a robe of estate and coronet. The final type of coronet is for female line grandchildren of a sovereign. They're entitled to wear a coronet of alternate fleur-de-lis and strawberry leaves. Both Peter Phillips and Zara Tindall would be entitled to wear this type of coronet at the coronation. This coronet has been rarely seen, but there are a couple of examples of its use. In the Royal Box in 1937, you can see Alexander, the first Marquis of Carisbrooke, the former Prince Alexander of Battenberg, the son of Queen Victoria's daughter, Princess Beatrice. He's on the left-hand side in the third row back. He is wearing the robes of a marquess and the collar of the Order of the Bath. But instead of a marquess's coronet, he is wearing the one that shows his royal connections. At the 1953 coronation, the Earl of Harwood, the grandson of George V, also wore this type of coronet with his earl's robe. Then there are one or two exceptions from the past that we're not going to see this time, but are worth mentioning. Queen Maud of Norway, the wife of King Haakon VII and the youngest of King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra's daughters, was present at the 1937 coronation of her great-nephew. As a queen consort, she wore an identical robe of estate to her sister-in-law Queen Mary, lined with white silk, and on her head, rather than a coronet, she wore a circlet of diamonds. This particular circlet had belonged to her mother, Queen Alexandra, and was made for Queen Alexandra as an alternative to the George IV diamond diadem that our late Queen Elizabeth II often wore. This diadem was given to Maud on her mother's death and is now in the hands of the Norwegian royal family. Princess Marie-Louise is an interesting case, as her coronation robes were entirely different from all the rest. She attended the coronations in 1902, 1911, 1937 and 1953. Her mother was Princess Helena, the daughter of Queen Victoria, and her father, a Danish-born German prince, Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein. Princess Marie-Louise's whole life was spent in England. She was English. From birth, she was known as Her Highness Princess Marie-Louise of Schleswig-Holstein, but in 1917, during the First World War, she dropped the German element of her name and was for the rest of her life known simply as Her Highness Princess Marie-Louise. As she was not a royal highness, but was one rung down in the royal pecking order, the robe of estate she wore was different. It was of royal purple, but had no gold lace, and was trimmed and was lined with plain brown fur rather than ermine. As a granddaughter of a sovereign in the female line, like her cousin the Marquis of Carisbrooke, she was entitled to wear the coronet of that degree. As we have no women of her status in the present royal family, we will not see this robe again. There was, of course, another anomaly at the 1953 coronation, and that was the Duke of Edinburgh, the consort of Queen Elizabeth II, who sat with the other royal dukes at the head of the peers in the south transept. At the time of the coronation, he was not a British prince. He was only created a Prince of the United Kingdom in 1957 by letters patent. At his wife's coronation, he didn't have a distinctive dress to wear, but sat beside Henry, Duke of Gloucester, the son of George V, wearing identical dress. He wore the robe of a royal duke with the coronet of a son of a sovereign. Of course, all I've discussed in this video could simply be an academic exercise. We may see no royal robes for the princes and princesses tomorrow at all, or ever again. But I do hope that some of this traditional dress endures and is seen tomorrow, as it will add a wonderful bit of pomp and colour to the proceedings. If you enjoy my videos and would like to support my channel, there are a number of ways you can do that. At the top of the page I have links to PayPal. I'm also enabled for super thanks. There's a little thank you button at the bottom of each video where you can make a donation to the channel if you've enjoyed it. I also offer channel membership, which gives you access to member-only content. And of course I publish my monthly magazine, The Antiquary. There are links to that in the comments box below. All support is most gratefully received, and it helps me to carry on bringing you further content. Thanks very much indeed for all of your support.